8:33 in Winnipeg. You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. Well, summer is officially in the rearview mirror, but it doesn't mean your reading habits need to stay there. With the changing of the seasons, why not cozy up with some new titles from McNally Robinson Booksellers as we continue our What to Read feature by welcoming back Chris Hall to the studio. Great to see you, Chris.
Good morning, Simon.
Hoping the seasons don't change too quickly, I should add. And looking at the forecast, it doesn't look like it's going to be going anywhere anytime soon, at least. Wonderful, as always, to have you back. And there's lots to get through this month. And one note before we begin, almost as many events as there are titles this month, which is really something else.
Yeah, we're into event season, and it's going to be a good one.
Can we talk more about that before we get to the specifics of a few of those? I mean, how are things shaping up at the store this fall? I mean, I'm thinking about book launches, events, and community classroom and more. It's just such a hub.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get right back to as busy as we always are. And but yeah, we're a bit lean in the spring for events and for book releases. It's just one of those springs, but the fall is going to make up for it. So yeah, we've got three we're going to talk about. We've got Tanya Talaga in line. We've got Anne Cleves coming. So yeah, there are some big international as well as big Canadian names.
Plus the Thin Air Festival, presented by Plume Winnipeg, formerly known as the Winnipeg International Writers Festival. That's running at the end of this month. I mean, you're going to be involved in that, no doubt. There's just so much happening. Yeah. And we're going to begin this month's What to Read, speaking of events, with someone who's going to be at McNally Robinson next week, September 10th, to launch her latest. Tell us about The Real Ones.
The Real Ones, yes. We're talking about Katrina Vermette. She's back. Of course, she leaves behind the main characters of her previous novels. We're very familiar with those, The Break, The Strangers, and The Circle. She does stay within the extended Stranger family. I haven't quite worked out which branch of the family tree, but they are there. It is the branch with June and her sister Lynn. And Lynn has her hands full. She has a daughter named Willow in her teens, pottery studio in Winnipeg. June is a Métis studies professor. She's living in Vancouver at the beginning of the novel, but moving back to Winnipeg as the story goes to be closer to her sister and her family. And into these lives, their estranged mother, Renee, is called out as a pretendian. She has been topping the charts in the Canadian art world and music scene, winning recognition for her Indigenous-style work. The problem is she's not Indigenous, and they know that, but she doesn't seem to understand, I guess, get it. So the news explodes, of course. The sisters are pulled into this tangle of lies, the stresses, the unresolved childhood trauma that they've gone through. It is a remarkable novel. It's obviously pulled from the headlines, but it is very much about the effect on these people, these two sisters in particular, but how this, breaks it up, the response that the white world gives them. Yeah, it is very, very good.
Katrina Vermette has been a regular recommendation of yours over the years, and can't second it enough. I mean, her writing is devastating and hopeful and raw and real. So yeah, this is certainly one of those you kind of want to get your hands on and be there Tuesday if you can. September 10th.
No less than Sheila Rogers hosting the event, so it's going to be very, very good. And we should also note that Katrina made the Giller long list.
Yes, indeed.
Giller Prize long list.
Fresh
this
news,
week.
That is, yes. And you tend to have a pulse on these things, Chris. It's something we've also talked about over the years. So what's next on this month's list?
Next, we're going to go a little farther away from home, into the U.S. in particular, with a novel called Entitlement, and it is by an author named Ruman Alam. He is the author of a book called Leave the World Behind. Many people will be familiar with the novel. It got a lot of praise, but it's also been made into a movie. It's currently on Netflix, so it's gained more popularity because of that. This new novel, he goes into New York City, and it's a novel about money and the role it plays in our lives. There are characters who have way too much, a billionaire who's trying to give it all away at the end of his life. There's our main character, Brooke. She's newly resigned from a private school, as a teacher at a private school, and recently hired at this fellow's foundation. Asher Jaffe is his name. He's made billions of dollars over his life. Now, he wants to give it away. So she is charged with finding worthy causes and worthy places that will make a difference in the world. She has friends. Some of them have more money than she does. Some of them have less. She kind of falls into the trap of the keep up with the Joneses a little bit. It is very, very interesting. You know, money isn't everything we say, but when your best friend has a lot more, it starts to intrude a little bit. It's really kind of fascinating how, can we not talk about it is what they say to each other. But
Yeah.
of course, it's just got this presence, especially when, there's somebody's got a brand new apartment that's way more than somebody else can get.
Yeah, it sounds like one of those titles that will have readers almost evaluating their own relationship with money, right?
It absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you think about how much do I need? How much do I want? Does it play this role in my life? Yeah, it absolutely makes you think.
Really fascinating indeed. Cool title that is. Where are we off to next? We return north of the border?
Yes, we come back to Canada. Montreal is the home place of Heather O'Neill. Her novel is called The Capital of Dreams. We know Heather, of course, very well. We're big fans. Lullabies for Little Criminals. The Girl Who Was Saturday Night. When We Lost Our Heads was the most recent one. I believe I brought that on air as well. So Capital of Dreams is about a young woman, teen, 14 years old, Sophia Bottom by name. She's living in a small, unnamed country in Europe. Don't know what time, don't know where exactly. She loves the old myths of trees that come alive, fairies that live among their roots. So she's lost in that world, but her mother is a writer in the modern world, creating this new wave of new art. The country is invaded by a neighbor, and the capital comes under threat. Her mother entrusts her latest manuscript to Sophia, who get it out of the train, or get it out of the country on literally the last train out. So the train is off it goes, but it comes to a mysterious halt in the middle of a forest, and Sophia is forced to run for her life. So there's this old world, there's this new world, and it's threatened, both of them, with their very existence. Nobody will be surprised if you know Heather O'Neill, that it's described as a dark fairy tale. It very much is. It's fascinating combination of elements in this story.
I can't help but think of more headlines. I'm thinking of the Katharina Vermette, and what she's looking at in her latest and real ones, and now this from Heather O'Neill, and sort of another line to draw between the two. Heather O'Neill going to be here in Winnipeg, not this month, but October 3rd will be at McNally Robinson Booksellers, hosted by David A. Robinson.
Dave, one of our favorites. David
yes,
Robertson,
indeed.
One of our best friends.
Some very big names rolling through town, and some great hosts are going to be leading these conversations with the authors. So another one to mark down on the calendar. Another big event happening at the end of this month. I wasn't kidding about there being
already.
A lot of events at McNally, but this one is happening off of McNally.
Yes.
Really, the more the merrier, and the more that can be there should be there, right? Tell us about this latest.
Yes, this is the new book, the book by Murray Sinclair. We've been waiting a long time for it. It is called Who We Are, 4 Questions for a Life and a Nation. And well known, of course, Murray, for as a judge, a senator, maybe most for as the chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But he's also known widely as a great father, grandfather, and he's just a friend to so many, an elder in his community, quite literally. This is his story, as well as the story of our nation. In his own words, it's an oral history. It is one of the reasons I guess we've been waiting for it is he had trouble kind of writing it in a conventional way. So what they've switched to, or he has switched to, is he's been interviewed, and he has spoken. This is his speaking voice, and it comes across on the page that you are listening to him rather than reading him, which is really very interesting. And he's just asking, who are we? It's structured around 4 questions, as the subtitle gives away. Where do I come from? Where am I going? Why am I here? And who am I? And he offers wisdom that has come to him from his own life, while challenging readers to embrace an inclusive vision for a shared future. So, long-awaited message from a man long known for his wisdom and perspective. He's often consulted. That is why he was the commissioner of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This is a very important book. Very, very important book in that contribution to that conversation that I've been bringing on with books over and over and over, that this process we need to go through in order to understand other people in our world.
And He'll be sharing his voice, again, as I was alluding to earlier, not at McNally, but at the RBC Convention Center. So truly a space that you can pack with individuals. That's coming up on Thursday, September 26th at the end of this month, 7 p.m. Tickets are available through the McNally website.
Yeah, you buy the book and you can get 2 tickets. You can get 1 ticket if you want. But yes, that's a pretty standard procedure for us now. But yeah, you can go through that process on our website. It's being hosted by Matt Galloway of the CBC, so the CBC is partnering on this. It's a big deal, and the room we have at the RBC can be expanded. We can sell out, so don't get too comfortable. But we can also fit a lot of people in there.
Yeah, of course, and rightfully so, because it's just one of those voices we really should be listening to. And one more title this month. How do you follow that up?
I know exactly. I'm sorry, Timothy Snyder, but you're our next author. This is a book called On Freedom. Timothy Snyder, of course, is a historian. Written several books, Bloodlands, about that land between Germany and Russia that over especially the 20th century has just been such an awful place to live. On Tyranny is a more recent book, more aiming towards current events, followed up by The Road to Unfreedom. And this one is called On Freedom. So here he argues that we have lost sight of what the word freedom means. Too many of us look at freedom as the absence of state power, but if history teaches us anything, it is when state power is removed, usually some man steps up into the breach, and freedom is gone, basically. So it's not the road to freedom. So instead, we need to think of it more about what our governments should be doing to work towards futures we can all appreciate. He identifies practices and attitudes, what he calls habits of mind, that allow us to design governments to create worlds where our future generations, children, grandchildren, and beyond can actually flourish. So very inspiring book. He mixes history with current political thought. It's very, very, very good at it. And while his focus is on America, I think we all are aware of the easy ways the word freedom has been bandied about in our own world. And I just think this is a really good book at a really perfect time.
A lot of current affairs making their ways into this month's picks. You always have us thinking, Chris, but as always, a diverse collection of suggestions that you can find up at classic107.com, right up on the homepage. And of course, you can find these titles and so many more at McNally Robinson Booksellers, either at the Grant Park location or the second floor at the Forks Market, online anywhere at McNallyRobinson.com. And again, just peruse that events tab. There is so much happening over at the store. Wonderful as always having you here, Chris, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Simon.